In this video, I'm reviewing the Tonor TW820 Plus wireless microphone kit. Now, around 9 months ago, Tonor sent me the original TW820 kit to review. So not the new Plus variant that I'm reviewing here. And back then, I found that the previous model, which included 2 wireless microphones, to have some UK-specific frequency issues. I exchanged a few emails with Tonor later, explaining the regulations here in the UK, to which they were very receptive. I also encouraged them to contact the UK regulator Ofcom to confirm what I was saying. If you live in the UK and you'd like to know what frequencies are legal to use for wireless microphones, I'd urge you to check out my previous review of this model's predecessor. And I'll put a link to that here somewhere. Everything you need to know is in that video towards the end. So now, 9 months later, Tonor recontacted me to say that they've acted on my feedback and that this new Plus model has been improved and that those frequency issues have been fixed. But before I get into that, let's start with the physicalities of this package. The TW820 Plus contains 4 wireless microphones and a 4-channel receiver. The whole pack in the UK currently costs £150, which, if you know anything about wireless audio, you'll know is ridiculously cheap. The package is substantial, quite weighty, and well presented. It certainly doesn't look or feel like a budget product from the outside. Inside, you can see the contents are very well protected, with heavy-duty cushioning all around. You get the operating manual, a 2-year warranty card, and then the 4-channel rack-mountable receiver, which looks quite attractive. It has a centrally mounted power button and independent output volume controls for each of the 4 channels. It has 2 LED displays, each of which will display information for a pair of connected microphones. At the rear, you get 4 antennas and 4 independent XLR outputs, plus a jack plug which carries a mix of all channels combined. The receiver runs off a supplied mains power brick rather than batteries, which means this is intended for indoor use. Then we get to the 4 handheld microphones, each of which require 2 AA batteries, and these aren't included. I'll come on to the operation of these microphones in just a second, but conveniently Tonor have labelled each of them A, B, C and D in the battery compartment, and I think that's a nice handy detail. There's also a tiny button in the battery compartment to change the wireless channel. This tiny button is labelled low/high, so initially I assumed it was to do with boosting or reducing the power of the wireless signal strength, but actually it's just for changing the channel over which it operates. Also in the box you get a rubber collar for each microphone, and that's useful for preventing it rolling off flat surfaces. So now let's talk about how these microphones operate, which look almost identical to their predecessors, but they do operate slightly differently. On the previous model, you could change the frequency on which it operated by double pressing this single power button on the front of the microphone. But this button is now used just to power it on and off with a long press. The little LCD display on the microphone is small, but bright and easy to read, and it shows you the battery status, the wireless signal strength, the channel ID it's paired to on the receiver, A, B, C or D, and the channel number it's operating on. But interestingly, it doesn't display the frequency. Each microphone comes pre-paired to the receiver, and changing the channel is easy. You just press the low-high button inside the battery compartment, and it automatically sets the receiver to match. The sound quality on these is okay for the money. There's a fair amount of hiss, and you have to get pretty close to the microphone to get a decent volume out of them. At which point, plosives become a problem. You have to be right on top of the microphone to get a good level. And this is exactly how the previous model behaved. So I'd say they're good for karaoke parties and indoor social events where price and ease of use are a priority. The real strength of these is the simplicity with which they operate. There's really no setup for you to do at all. The wireless range is good enough to operate reliably in a large single room. I found they started to drop the signal 2 floors down from where I am right now. But the million-dollar question is, can you set these to UK legal frequencies? Indeed, what frequencies are they using? And this is where I got a little curious. As I mentioned earlier, there's no indication of the frequency used on these microphones, nor on the receiver's display, and there's no mention of it in the user manual. So I did a little digging and stumbled across a US presentation of these units, and that does show the frequency used in the receiver's display, and that frequency wouldn't be allowed in the UK. And because the unit I received doesn't appear to have a UK-specific model designation, I wrote to Tonor asking why the model I received doesn't show the frequency. And if it is a UK model, what frequency is it actually using? Now, it's been a little while and I've yet to receive a reply. But as far as the 820 Plus is concerned, well, I really have nothing more to say about it, other than if you have a little more money to spend, I'd advise you look at other options from established reputable brands like Sennheiser or Shure. So, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.